guys, this full moon could bring about another collective shift in consciousness, which is very exciting. But it does come with its challenges. We could be facing some unexpected changes around this time that give us the growth opportunity to rework the way we process things emotionally and mentally within ourselves, within our relationships, and in the way we pursue our desires. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, let's start with the Aquarius full moon and talk about the Aquarius energetics. So Aquarius is a masculine sign, which means that it is outward focused, it's action oriented. It's also an air sign, which means that it's intellectually kind of driven, tends to have more consciousness around our social interactions, especially on a group level. And it is a fixed energy, which makes it more stable and reliable in some ways. Now, naturally, a full moon will oppose the sun, and the sun will be in Leo. So we could be overall kind of rebalancing the energetics between our hearts and our minds, between doing things our own way just for the sake of it versus thinking about other people, thinking about the group consciousness, doing what's best for all. Okay, so generally speaking, the full moon in Aquarius is going to be ruled by Saturn and Uranus is very loud in this full moon. We've got a T-square happening with Uranus between the sun and the moon, and it's also squaring Mercury. So what does this all mean? We could have a change that's happening in our purpose, in the way we pursue a goal. There could be unpredictable events that arise at this time, a change in our thinking, ideas, or in our minds. We could have that strong desire for independence, wanting to rebel against the way things are usually done. And we might have the opportunity, we'll definitely have the opportunity to be more creative. But the challenge here is that we might be hasty. You know, having a square with the sun and Leo, that energy is going to want to really jump into action and really kind of pursue something in a really fast way. And this kind of shows that we could be benefiting from, especially with Mercury being in retrograde, we might actually benefit more by slowing down the process, being more patient and balanced as we approach something that we might have to deal with, like an unexpected challenge. This could be an opportunity to really develop yourself in the way you deal with unexpected changes or challenges or surprises or shocks or disruptions in your life. There might be a side of us that has a strong desire for like instant result or change, and then we're going to have that side of us that might need to slow down, pace ourselves, be a little bit more practical as we approach this change. Now, the sun will be in conjunction with Mercury, which means that our mental activity is going to be heightened. We're going to have our thinking self really active around this time, and then we're going to have Uranus, the higher mind, squaring the sun and the moon. We might be needing to make some decisions. It might be some bigger decisions that we're trying to make. We might be looking at taking a risk around this time. We might be contending with our fears. There could be some indecision, you know, the thrill of jumping into action, the thrill of jumping into big decisions, but possibly that being risky in some way and dealing with our fears around that time. The moon is going to be opposing Mercury at this time, and so we could have a side of us that really wants some kind of result on an emotional level, and then we might have to contend with like our minds and what's practical, what's logical, what's rational. And so we might be tuning into, you know, what we want versus what we really need, and really trying to balance that out between our minds and our emotions. When Uranus is squaring the moon, that gives us an opportunity to be more adaptable and flexible on an emotional level when we encounter unexpected changes or disruptions or chaos in our lives. It could help us open up to new solutions that we haven't seen before. And generally, because we're squaring Uranus and Taurus, there might be these emotional feelings that feel unresourced in some way and having to open up to a new way to be emotionally resourced for some of these changes that we go through. Now, when we have Mercury squaring Uranus, I'm seeing that as us kind of being in the dark. We might not know the answer, we might not know the way, but we're kind of feeling around in unknown territory and discovering something new that can help us in many, many ways on a deep level. Mercury will be trining Chiron, which gives us a mental and emotional healing at this time, able to handle emotional issues in more of a logical way and just explore ourselves internally for the sake of healing. So at this time, we may be communicating things in a more vulnerable way, sharing what's happening inside of us, coming to successful and healing conversations or communications that help us handle these unexpected events or unexpected changes in more of a logical way. Venus is going to be squaring Mars and Jupiter at this time, which means we could have a very strong desire to take action, strong tendencies to go overboard, overdo something, possibly have some negative consequences if we do, but we feel maybe close enough to make that happen, to take a risk, to take a gamble. Venus is also going to be opposing Saturn. This could bring about some challenges, difficulties in our relationships regarding some serious challenges, some responsibilities. It could bring up some barriers in our relationships where maybe we've been too cold or distant or just emotionally strained. And this does give us the opportunity to strengthen our relationships, to mature, to be patient and responsible with the way we work things out. It's actually a really good opportunity to rework, retrain our relationships, especially where our relationships have been showing up in limiting, restricted ways in the way we deal with unexpected changes or surprises or disruptions in our lives. Now, one of the wonderful things that's happening is that Mars will be conjuncting with Jupiter at this time, which brings about this kind of quickening of passion in some ways. Like we could be getting really excited around this time, having increased excitement, increased energy, being more adventurous, wanting to take a risk, being lucky with those risks. But we do, again, risk overdoing it in some way. Now, intuitively, this is kind of like a teacher and a student energy. We have Jupiter in Gemini. Jupiter is kind of like this philosophical, broad energy that's very expansive and, kind of has this higher education to it, whereas Gemini is more about learning, our minds, our communications, the way we process and the way we think. And so at this time, we could be really planning some things out. We could be getting excited, seeing kind of like the end result that we want and coming up with some very interesting plans of the way we get there. But Mars and Jupiter are going to be squaring Saturn, which makes this a very restrictive energy around that. As much as we're going to be wanting to move forward, expand, pursue something, we're also going to feel something holding us back, something restricting us, something that that makes it difficult for us to move forward, something that may ask us to have more discipline. And so this is kind of that energy of Saturn kind of asking us to be more patient, more mature, more disciplined, and reduce excessive risk. In this case, it might be a situation in which you just have to work harder, focus more on your goals, progress through challenges in more of an organized way, restructure the way you approach something, reorganize something. This is not something that's going to stop us. This is not like some limitation that's going to completely stop us. It's kind of like a hiccup. It's kind of like we're moving forward and we have to take a pause so that we can deal with some stuff, so that we deal with some of the structures that are kind of unstable or weak, something that we have to reorganize, but approach something in more of a calculated way, more of an organized way. Now, Neptune will be in sextile with Pluto, which means that there could be a beautiful and deep kind of spiritual transformation happening around this full moon. Where we might have this beautiful imagination and creativity and strong intuition. We might have this higher perspective on what we're going through. And then Pluto helps us to have a transformation. And so overall, I see this full moon as something that on a collective level, busting through a glass ceiling, having another shift in consciousness, where we are releasing old relationship agreements on a collective level. Don't allow us to really move forward in our dreams and our desires, and opens us up to a new way of doing that. But does require us to go through like a healing. It requires us to release, requires us to detach and let go, and be a little bit more patient and disciplined, and really put in the work, and make sure that we're reorganizing things in a practical way as we move forward. So some of the wisdom that's coming through around this full moon is kind of embracing some of that Aquarian energy, that excitement around change, embracing change, really detaching from the situation, letting things go, being willing to think about things differently, be willing to process things differently, be willing to navigate things in our relationship differently, embracing change, embracing forward momentum, forward progress, change in a direction, even if it asks us to go slower, even if it asks us to pause, take a step back, and reassess a situation. If anything unexpected comes up, one of the first things you can do, take a deep breath in and just slow down, be patient, and allow yourself to come into new information that allows you to approach some changes or unexpected things or even challenges in a new and different way that possibly you haven't seen before. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you. If you enjoyed this video, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out a lot. And if you're ever interested in a personal session, a group session, or some of my online classes, please don't be afraid to check out the information below. All right, take care.